Welcome back, fellow scrubs. A little late today. I got home really late, so fortunately I pushed everything back. But I'm here. I'm working on Ecto-Rush, and my thing doesn't work. Hold on. Where's the thing? The seed switcher. Work now? Hey, how about that? I use a thing called Touch Portal for switching the scenes. I use XSplit to do the streaming, and it's kind of like a virtual Elgato Stream Deck. I'm using the free version, so it's super limited, but I don't have that many scenes to juggle, so it kind of works out alright. And but you have to manually connect it every time you start XSplit, and I forgot to do that. So anyway. Alright, let's go. So there's been a lot of changes since last you saw Ecto-Rush, and if you've been following on Twitter or Discord, you may have seen that I uploaded a public demo for it. So I will share that now and show you how far I've gotten since the last time we've been there. So that went up on Tuesday morning? Yeah, no, it's Tuesday morning, very early in the morning. So, it's not a full-fledged port of the original, but I got enemies flying in circles. I got the random level chunks loading. Got hit detection. No, I'm dead. That was a trick one. That one's nasty. I have to change that one. That one's a little too hard. I've got a title screen. I've got, the ability to retry. So I only constructed a handful of level layouts. So it's not too robust, but again, it's an early access like little teaser demo, so it's not going to be like super crazy. And there's no sound or music yet. That's something I'd really like to address before I put it on the back burner again. So if you're new, this was a game that I made a long time ago on Android, and due to publisher interference, is no longer available to download. You know how much I hate that kind of stuff. So I'm just gonna port it to Unity and re-release it, essentially. Now, when we first made this game, under my studio, Skyland Studio, this was the second game that we've ever made, and we used an adapted version of the Hamster Drum that we created from scratch to make this game. It was a similar sort of premise in a way, where the screen is moving upward or objects are falling downward, whichever. Oh yeah, that transition's a little abrupt. I want to address that too eventually. Oh shit, that should have I should have died there. I mean, I made it, but as you can see, it gets a little harder as it gets faster. So we made it. Oh yeah. Here I should let go and then position my mouse and then click where I want to go. That would be the best way to handle that. Yeah, either way, so our team at Skyland Studio created this game years ago at this point. A few years back at least. Was it 2014? Oh God, don't say it was that long ago. Anyway, it is not available to download anymore. Even if you found a copy, it wouldn't work anyway because publisher interference. What is happening? So I said, screw it. The old build of the game doesn't really work anymore, and so modifying that one would potentially be more of a hassle because the code is so old and it's using the old standards for Android and the Play Store and all that. It would be harder to. I wouldn't say it'd be harder, but it may not be worth just fixing up. Because I want to add stuff to it and create more features and all that. And all that would be so much tremendously easier if I just had it in Unity. So the idea was, well, we'll just port it to Unity. So here I am porting it to Unity. And it's working out okay. I think there's a lot of things I'm going to have to clean up and change since this demo's been out. But I think it's a decent, solid foundation to start on. I tried to be really cognizant of going into this, even though it was kind of like the goal was just to get a demo out. I went into it trying to be very clean with the code and structure things in a way that should work in the future. Uh-oh. No. Man, you panic and you can't get it. The game, this demo is using the same level chunks. It's just getting faster and faster and faster as you go along. The real game will have much more to it than that, but that was all I could get done on such short notice. And then if you hit this, it would quit, but it's not going to quit. It's in the editor, so. And that's what I got. So I got spinning enemies, I got hit detection. You can absorb the some spirit energy, which in the old game gives you bonus points, but it is not. There's no score yet. Oh, what did I get? A billion distance? Oh, it's because I turned it off. That's the default value to put here. But I think it'll, if I turn it back on, whatever it was. So it records your distance, and the original game did that too, but I need to add the score into it and all that stuff. I'd like to add pause feature and things like that. But that's what I got for now. I mean, at this point, the real goal would be if I can get out a full version, a full ported version for Halloween, that would be great. I would love to have it ready to be playable in October. That would be, it would also kind of synchronize with its original release back in the day. So that's what I would like to do there. So let me show you a few things that I added since last month. How it works. Let's see. Let me open first the level scene so you can see what's going on here. That way we don't have to keep hitting start. So as you can see, the chunks are generated in real time. So I'm going to be... You know what? I'm going to make myself invisible for a minute. That way we don't have to worry about me dodging stuff on the screen. So if you see here, the level chunks are generated in real time. And then they disappear once they've cleared the map here. Then the detection for where things are is a little wonky. I do have to have a tile at the end to kind of denote where the end of that is going to be. And then it basically just detects how close you are. And then when you've cleared, I think, 8 sections, it's either 8 or 10, then it decides to send you to the next one. And then it just keeps continuing to pull random chunks out. So the way that the chunk system works is that all the level chunks here, you might see them here. Oh wait, let me initialize it to keep it paused. You see all the level chunks have been loaded at once over here. And what happens is it just enables one of them and moves it into the position, and then it falls down. You'll see that here too. You'll see them light up. See how they light up as they activate and deactivate. And that way I'm not creating new ones, not creating new objects here. They're all prefabs, but they're being instantiated in advance, and they're just being turned on and off as necessary. And that way you don't have to spend time reinstantiating and setting up the chunks, so they can just be returned. That's what we call object pooling, in a sense. Well, it uses the concept of object pooling, but I'm not sure if I would call this instance of it directly an object pool, because there's not multiple objects, being pooled here. It's just one of each object. Object pooling is something kind of like in Mega Man, you shoot bullets. Well, what would happen instead of creating and destroying Mega Man's bullets as they are shot and as they hit things or leave the screen? You would just preload 3 copies of Mega Man's bullet, and every time you need the bullet, you check for a deactivated copy, and then you just move it into position and re-enable it. And then when it's done, when it hits something, or when it goes off screen, then you just disable it and it returns to the pool. Now, you don't need more than 3 in a Mega Man game, because Mega Man can only shoot 3 bullets at once. It's kind of a hard-coded limit, traditional limit of sorts. But if you needed more, you could instantiate kind of want to get really rapid fire with it. Just the idea is that you have to make enough copies to satisfy whatever you have available in gameplay. So if you only make 10, you only have a pool of 10 bullets, and you shoot 15 bullets, or attempt to shoot 15 bullets, That's not good. you have to have enough to cover how many that can be on screen at once, or not necessarily on screen, but activated and actually doing something at once. There's a couple ways you can do that. I mean, one, you could say, okay, if the object pool gets exceeded, then just make another one at that point in time. And then so, we had 10 bullets, we needed 11, we just created the 11th one and inserted it into the pool. And that's perfectly acceptable in most cases. Or you could say, whatever the oldest version of that object is, the last one, or the oldest one to have spawned, we're just going to remove that bullet and reuse it, recycle it for the new one. Now that could have some severe gameplay implications. For hit sparks, probably not a big deal, but for an interactive game element, probably a big deal. Oh yeah, here's the third area now. I put all 4 areas in, but it doesn't change anything except the tiles. And I'll get to how the tiles change, because these tiles are actually the same tiles. The prefabs do not change. I actually programmed a custom tile to take the form of whatever I need it to be, visually. Hey, Fred, what's up? So I'll go over that. But yeah, object pooling is kind of the concept that I'm using here. I'm just not using multiple copies of the chunks, just each one is its own thing. Oh, and also it randomizes whether it's mirrored or not. So you'll get the same pattern, but it can be mirrored on the horizontal axis. And for that, honestly, I just changed the rotation value of the chunk to be 180, I think, on the y-axis, and that turns it around. And since Unity automatically corrects for the collision, the 2D collision space with rotation in mind, then it just does it. It's fine. It doesn't have any problem. So that was a super easy solution. So what do I think might be improved in this system going forward? I mean, other than adding features like the difficulty levels and the difficulty pools and all that, I would say that I might actually change how this works here. In the way that right now the levels are moving downward and Ecto is staying stationary. You can see here. I believe that might be the least efficient way to handle this. I think the more performant way to do this would be to have the levels, added going upwards, and then Ecto actually flying up through them. And the reason being is that when you move, there's a performance cost for moving a collection of objects. So here, if we look at this level chunk, which is, I think it's this one, yeah. I don't want to maximize this. Yeah, let's maximize this one. All these objects here, from this to here, everything in this square, is all part of one level chunk. And that includes all the tiles, so the tile map and all the tiles, and all the objects that create the enemies. And this circle enemy is like a circle rotation strip, but then it spawns an object for each of the spirits, and they're kind of following the points around the circle. But that's a lot of objects, as you can see here. You've got each of the spirits, and each spirit has an enemy script, but it also has the spirit graphics and the code that handles like the facial expressions and the fire animation. And each of the face, the flame, and the glider are different objects. So you've got a whole bunch of stuff here, and when this whole level chunk moves down, like it moves up or down, see how the whole... Oh, it despawned. That's funny. It despawned and it came back. It's because I'm messing with it. But see how the whole collection of it moves? Well, when this moves, it has to signal to everything here, hey, we're moving. You need to move down, and all of these things need to move down, and there's a lot of objects. And I think that that's probably not a good performance thing to do here. So the more performant way to do this would be to have each of the level chunks stationary, and then Ecto flies through the level chunks, actually moves the Y coordinate going up. And that's fine, that'll work. Since the game is potentially endless, you could eventually have a coordinate issue there. But in between tombs, you could probably just take however far you've been and then just reset the position down without the player visually understanding that that's what happened. So the reason that would work out is because instead of moving, 50 objects. Hey, who is that? Whiskey TV? Well, thanks for the follow. Instead of having the level chunks move 50 objects as they're moving down, then what you would do is just move one object. I mean, the HUD would move too, and whatever, there's less objects combined between Ecto and the HUD and whatever effects may be on screen and all that are moving upwards, right? It's instead of having 100 objects moving down, then you've only got maybe 20 moving up. And so that would be more performant. I think I want to rethink my stuff to make that happen. Just a random search and you found me? Well, I appreciate that. At least I'm discoverable, right? And then, let's... Sense Station. That's a good name. And you just did the same thing. Well, I appreciate that. Hey, you can find me at least, right? So I think we want to change it to that. So we'll have the level chunks get mapped out, and then Ecto will apply to them. And you can still activate and deactivate them based on proximity. What are we working on? I'm working on a port of a game that I made years ago. It's no longer available, and we made a custom engine for it back in the day. But that's a pain to work with. Unity's much easier. So I said, you know what? We're just going to port the entire game to Unity. And then we can add new features and stuff. Right now I'm invincible, so it's just scrolling. But the idea is that you want to avoid the walls here and avoid the enemies. And then as you get through the tombs, new level patterns will emerge, new enemies will emerge, things like that. And so that we're in the pretty early stages here. And then if you get close to an enemy, you can suck some of their power away for some extra points. And that's the idea. I typed in game development because I was thinking I don't have any good developers to watch on Twitch, so I decided to hop in. Well, I appreciate that. Let's see. Yeah, I don't have any experience in Godot. I started working in Unity a few years ago. I'm still here, for better or worse. I run, well, kind of like 4 projects. This one's one of the back burner projects. I'm trying to port not only Ecto-Rush here, but also Hamster Cup, was the other game that I worked on in the past. And the same deal. Instead of working with the old engine, it seems to be better to just port it to Unity, and it will make adding features and everything so much easier and faster. And those are the 2 old games that I used to work on. Or, well, I mean, I guess I worded that kind of strange. 2 games that I have made in the past that I would like to update and have available again on the App Store and Google Play and whatever. But upgrading their old code to work with the new standards would be a big task. And I think it would just be easier to port them to Unity from scratch, and then I can add new features and everything would be easier. And then the 2 big projects I'm working on are Pocket Fighter EX, which is a fighting game made in Unity, and also We don't have a title for it yet, but it's kind of a sort of Metroidvania platformer kind of thing called Retro Mansion game. And that will be coming back actually on Thursdays, now that Ecto-Rush is run its course, and we got a demo out. So everything's kind of flip-flopping here, but on Mondays I always do Pocket Fighter EX stuff. So, and that one's like a fan game based on the old Neo Geo Pocket fighting games. So I'm juggling kind of a lot at the moment. So it's not greatly advised, but the Ecto-Rush and the Hamster Drop one are definitely back burner things at the moment that I'm just kind of working on. I'd take like one weekend a month and work on one of them. That's the plan. And then, so this one might be able to be complete by October. And if that works, that I'll be happy with that, because it'll be a nice like Halloween release kind of thing, which will be appropriate. And Hamster Drop is going to take longer than that because it's a bit more involved. But that's the plan. That's the idea. Let's see. I just started a job as a software engineer 2 months ago and want to do game dev on the side. Hey! Just be prepared for potential burnout if you do that kind of thing. If you program all day long and you come home and program all day long, that's don't feel bad if at some point you're just sick of it. So take your time with it, and if you need to take extra breaks, then it is what it is. You know, prioritize your living, and just be careful with that. That can lead down a dangerous road, and I know because I've been there. But yeah, that's the idea. You just get randomized chunks of level, and you go through them. Get points. Eventually, there's going to be bosses and stuff. The original had all that. So the boss battles are pretty unique in how they work, but they're not implemented yet, so I don't have that to really show off. So this is on Game Jolt right now. Let's see if I can get the link here. I should add it as a chat command. I kind of forgot about it. Game Jolt. Hey, Ecto-Rush for Martha Wiz. Here we go. So if you go to GameJolt.com and you just look for Ecto-Rush, you'll find it. And then you can download the demo. And that's the one that you're seeing here. The same build. I plan to do like a couple little updates, but for the most part, I think we're going to switch back to Retro Mansion game for any big stuff. Do I have any games on Steam? I do not. I wouldn't mind putting Ecto-Rush on Steam, but only once it's complete. I think I want to keep it here for now. And it doesn't have like any DLC or anything, so it's not a big thing. It would be interesting to put it up there just to try it, right? Just to see what Steam is, you know, what the process is to get something on Steam. Yeah, and I would definitely want to put Hamster Drop on there. Ecto-Rush is pretty slim, so I'm not too concerned about it, but I would definitely want Hamster Drop to be on there. And Hamster Drop has a demo too. I did basically the same thing. Oh, here it is. We look for Hamster Drop, and that's this one. The idea is hamsters will fall from the sky, you want to pick them up. This one's really early alpha kind of stuff. And then you avoid bombs. You get hit by bombs. Bombs bad. You can try it out. It just plays an endless level right now, but the full game will have like actual levels and stuff. That one I eventually want to push. I want to do a lot more with this one. I'd like to explore the idea of potentially having like multiplayer mode and that kind of stuff, but that's gonna take a while. Is there any link where I can see your game portfolio? No, actually there isn't. I wonder if I should set something like that up. Alright, so Look, basically everything's on Game Jolt here. So Pocket Fighter EX is also on Game Jolt right here, and this one's a fan game, fighting fan game. This is probably the most advanced project right now. And Retro Mansion Games does not have any sort of demo release or page setup. And that one's going to take a while because we're building a lot of new systems for that. But this is probably the most active project right now. I'm working on online versus play and stuff for that. And that's taking a while. That's a very complicated thing to add to a game. So it's been a while since I updated this one because of that. I'm still working on the online version, but I'm sure it'll be out this year at least. So I work on it every week, and that's my Monday stream. Like as I do this stuff, I've been pretty active with it. It feels like not a lot has changed because I haven't updated it, but adding online play to a game like this with rollback netcode is not easy. So it's taking quite a while, which it'll be worth it when it's done, but I can understand people's frustration. I'll be honest, most of the stuff I have is on Game Jolt, so I guess you could call that my portfolio. I guess if you click on my name, you get everything. I don't know if that's my games or is it just the stuff that I just viewed. If you go to library, oh yeah, games made. Here you go. Go to me. Go to library. Games made, and I'll show you all three. There you go. How about that? That works. But you're right. I should have some kind of web page where it's got all the stuff that I've done. That would be really cool. I'll have to think about that. Thank you for that suggestion, or the idea rather, to have that. But yeah, that's me. And then, so yeah, this will probably be the last Ecto-Rush stream for a while. I'll probably bring it back around September, and we'll kind of hardcore work on it to try to get a good version out in October. And so we'll have that September, October, like development schedule for the streams for it. I think that'll be fun. And in the meantime, I'll be working on, after this Thursday, the next bunch of Thursdays until September-ish will be Retro Mansion game. And that's like a old school platformer kind of thing. I got my hands in a lot of pots. Or hands in a lot of cookie jars. What is it? What is the term? Hands in? Is it hands in cookie jars? I don't know. Whatever. The idea. Anyway, so that's what I've gotten, and I wanted to share some of the code here. As you notice, the tile graphics changed when the levels changed. So if I open up a chunk here, minimize this. Open up a chunk here, you can see you can see that you can place tiles and stuff, and they automatically randomize what direction they're facing, and their graphics will change depending on the level that's being played. So even though these chunks here, while I'm editing, look like these little crypts, as soon as I start playing, if you're in the graveyard, they look like tombstones. And so that's a system that I developed using tile map editor, I guess you want to call it. And what I ended up doing is you can make your own custom tile script. Here's my wall tile. And so I say, what's the number of areas I want to support? And sprite 1 is area 1, sprite 2 is area 2, sprite 3 area 3, etc., etc. And there's only 4. And so I select which sprite is supposed to show on which area. And where is I'm going to change it so that we start on tomb 5. And I think that will give us the second area here. Yeah. So see, now it's area 2, and see all the tiles are now sprite for area 2. So the script itself determines that. So let's edit script. And what I did is, so this is a wall tile that inherits from tile base. And basically, I just took the animated tile that comes when Unity's like 2D extras pack, and I edited that script to do what I wanted. So I changed it so that I give it the tomb area information. That's the probably a comparable name for it, but that's here where I can select the starting tomb, and it's kind of like gameplay data. And I say how many tombs you have to advance to get to the next area, and how fast the scrolling goes, and so on and so forth. And the chunks where they manifest and when they spawn. All those settings are in there, and that's what this information is. And then here's my array of sprites, and here's the meat of it. So get tile data is called when a tile map gets loaded. And I randomize whether or not it's going to be flipped, whether we mirror it or not. And here I mirror it. You can't do it from the sprite renderer, I think I tried to do that and it didn't work. Yeah, because you don't have a sprite renderer in a tile map, you just have a sprite. Maybe there is a sprite renderer somewhere, but I don't know how to access it. So I changed the sprite to whatever it needs to be in that area. See, it finds out what area we're in, and then it will load the sprite appropriate to that. And changes the color. It locks the transform. I need this setting here. So this flip matrix. Oh, here I made this a static object. So I transformed newer angles. That's just the XYZ rotation. I gave it a Y of 180, so that flips it around completely. And then I just saved that as a matrix here. And then I just use that here. And you could calculate this every time you put it here, but it would be slow. You can just do it once and then reuse it. And so if it's flipped, I use the flip. If not, then I use matrix identity, which just means it's just normal. There's no rotation on it. I don't know why they call it identity, that just is what it is. And that's pretty much it. And it selects the proper sprite. And so this gets called on all the tiles, and it will figure out what it wants to do for that. Now here's the thing. Oh, and this is the editor script. Just didn't have to really make a fancy editor for it, but since the animated tile already came with one, I just edited what was here. And it worked out okay. So here's the deal. Once a tile map has been loaded, this runs only once. So when I need to change areas, I have to run a refresh on this. So it'll do this right when the game loads, and it will give you the tile that's appropriate for whatever you're starting to do. But what we need to do, where is it? It's probably in the level chunks here. So I'm just gonna pull a random one. So here, level chunk controller. This code's a little disorganized because I kind of rushed through it to get the demo out. But the main idea is that when you enable it, or not, here, and when you activate the chunk, it attempts to enable it, and it does this, refresh tiles. And that goes to the tile map, and it says refresh all tiles. And that will rerun this get tile data script on all the tiles, and they'll magically change over to whatever they need to be. It's great. It's perfect. It's exactly what I needed. Now, we found that out at the end of the last stream, I think. But since then, I've gone and actually wrote all the script did all that stuff. So I was really happy with how that came out. I think it was a really good, big brain play on how to get the level editing to be very easy to do, while leveraging all the benefits of Unity's tile editor. So that was good. I was happy with that. And then the rotating spirits, they are simply just objects, prefabs that I load in and they do their thing. So there's nothing too complicated here. Like, I can change the distance here and expand them, contract them, change the spin speed. I'm gonna undo that though. Or change their starting rotation if I want them to be offset in some manner. You know, that's an option there. And that's the only enemy I have right now. I mean, I could place the purple spirits just statically on the map, and they wouldn't be any different than having just like the walls that you can't walk through or fly through, I guess. And the next enemy type I'd like to make is the one that appears and they shoot for your current location. I think that would be fun. But I don't know if I have time to do that now. That might be pretty involved. So that's why I just wanted to review. There were so many changes since last week. I just wanted to review how all that works. Oh, and I'll show you here the level chunks. So here's my stage chunk collection. I have a debug one, so if I want to test specific ones, I can click that, and it will only generate these specific ones here. So I can test these in kind of a safe environment. I don't have to wait until the RNG decides to give me the chunk that I want. I could just continually get it every time. And so that's very helpful, but here's the main chunks. Now eventually these are going to be split up into difficulty. So I'll say, okay, difficulty rating, I think I had, in the old game, I think there were 2 or 3 difficulty ratings per area. So I would say this has a difficulty rating of 0, and then I'd have another list that would be a difficulty rating of 1, 2, and 3, and so on. And it would pull randomly. It would figure out which pool to pull from, depending on how far you're into the game and stuff like that. That's how the original worked. And that should be pretty easy to make that work. And then here, yeah, this is the serialized list of prefabs. That's this one. And when the game starts, it calls preload chunks, and then it goes through and, oh yeah, so if it's debug, it uses a debug. If it's not debug, it uses normal. Then it goes here, checks what parent you want the parent to do. I don't think we're actually using a parent right now. I think they're all on the top, but if I ever want to parent it something else, I can do that. And then the list of prefabs, when it sends in this list, and it just goes through and it just instantiates them. And if there's an error, if like one of these is wrong or has a bad configuration, then tell me. And then I can fix it. And yeah, and then get random chunk. So it goes to the level chunk controller, which has a list of all the active and inactive controllers. When they're active, they get added to this list. When they despawn, they get back added to this list. And that's how I keep track of what is spawned and what is not spawned. And when I get a random, I look in the inactive. If there's anything in here at all, then we want to pull a random one out. And that's it. If there's none, then it just returns null and I don't spawn anything. Which theoretically should never happen, but you know, just on the rare occasion that we end up with nothing in here for some reason, then it will be that. I'm sure during development we'll have a lot of situations if I make a new pool and there's nothing to pull from, then yeah, we'll have that. And it's just gonna have to get a little more complicated, in that each pool is gonna have to have its own active and inactive. But for now, this is suitable. Um, yeah, this is the script you're writing for when you activate. Hey, who's that? Splendid Jams. Hey, hello, welcome. What's up? So that's how that works. It's not too sophisticated, but it's going to have to get a bit more as time goes on. Oh, yeah, wait, do I do anything with this one then? Oh, yeah. So when you change the tile in the editor, that's what this part of the script is for. I refresh the map bounds. That's how we get the red here. That's how we get the red box. If I put something up here, then it knows where that was, and if I delete it, then it shrinks. So I kind of have a visual read on how big the chunk is and all that kind of stuff. That's what actually here. So whenever a tile is changed, it fires off this event, and it tells you what map it was changed on and all the tiles that were changed. Now, the reason this is an array is because if you do this, it does not update it until you release the mouse, and then boom, and now all of a sudden it updates. But it sent an entire array of all these tiles that got created. And if you delete tiles, the same thing, it'll send a giant array of all the tiles that are getting. Hope you're having a splendid day. I randomly saw this stream and thought it looked really neat. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I hope you're having a splendid day. I am doing pretty good today. If you check if the tile map is the one that you're editing, is the one that's attached to this tile map here. And then if it's not ours, then we get out of here. I did actually iterate through the tiles, but I don't do anything with them anymore. I used to manage like tile sets and stuff to do like measures, but that wasn't necessarily not the better way to do that. So this is actually redundant. This doesn't really need to be here. I just left it here in case I ever actually needed it again. But since this only runs at editor time, I'm not worried about a performance hit. And then refresh map bounds. That's how I figure out where to draw that red box. Yeah, compress bounds. So you go to the tile map, you tell it to compress bounds, and that gets rid of any empty space. And it keeps everything all compact. And then I say refresh map bounds here, and it just pulls. You can pull from you get cell bounds rather, and you can pull from that. You get the Y max, so how many tall there are. And then I just get like the basic size here, and that's it. I catch these two pieces of data, and then down here when you draw the gizmos, the debug stuff, where the red lines come from, then I get the grid size, so I know how big each tile is, and then I use that to calculate the red box I construct. It's pretty basic. And that gives me more of an idea, just kind of a visual readout of, hey, how big is this chunk here? And also, if I place something outside, I can realize, oh, it's outside the red box, it shouldn't be there. So it's just a helpful little thing. But I ended up thinking, hey, you can use that data for other things. Now that I know how big the chunk is, well, I know how far apart they are when you run the game. And I use that data, how big they are, to figure out where the next one needs to spawn. So I keep kind of a rolling tally of where's the last chunk top here. And when it gets down far enough, we spawn another one. And that's how the game keeps track of that. So it's not too magical, but it worked out. I had another use for that data. If you have data, you can collect it and you cache it, you can use it for stuff. You can get real creative with that. That's how it works. It's super secret. trying to think of any other interesting things they did. I mean, there's like, oh, yeah, I click a button so I can play it. Whatever. I'm sure you can all figure that part out. That's kind of big stuff here. So from here, I think the next big step would be, I mean, other than adding like the music and the sound effects, the next big step would be adding the other enemy types and getting those different difficulty ratings on the pools, and having some way to manage that. Because I've already figured out how to do the incremental speed and all that stuff. And then the next big step after that would be adding bosses. And they're kind of like that's a whole big deal. That's its own thing. And there's other stuff like power-ups and stuff, but those are the big things that need to be added. And since I already have the random generation, adding the difficulty levels and all that won't really be a problem, I think. It's just going to be an extension of what's already there. It'll take some work to get it all together, for sure, but I think that should go pretty smoothly. And, oh yeah, and then changing it so that the levels aren't falling, but that Echo's actually running through the level from bottom to top for performance reasons. And those are going to be the big ones. And then from there, it's just getting it working on mobile properly. There's going to be a lot of graphical tweaks to make. But I think that's kind of the idea of the roadmap that we got going on. So it's in a good place. In some ways, I would have liked to have gotten more by now, but at the end of the day, realistically, I do realize that it actually came out pretty good for what it was. For the time that I had to work on it, I'm actually pretty proud of the progress. Take a sip of my coffee. I probably shouldn't even be drinking any more of this tonight. I'm gonna be up forever. Yeah, when I pulled the all-nighter to get this demo out, that kind of screwed my sleep schedule. I'm not sleeping when I should be now. Today was exhausting, so I had to have the coffee to get myself up there, but gotta get on stage, gotta be lively, do a little jig, keep everybody entertained. And for that I need coffee. I'm not gonna lie. I did some other experimentation with the circles, like expanding circles and contracting circles. I did not like the result of them. I thought they were kind of confusing, especially when the game gets really fast. I could show you what one of those looks like. The ones that I marked bad, I think those are it. So let me just put these in here into the debug queue, and then we can look at that so you can see what that looks like. So here's an experiment that I thought didn't go too well. See how they come in on you? Or that they expand? I kind of like the concept of it, but I don't think it should be used in the way that it is here. It's very hard to react to. If I didn't have invincibility on, I would have been long dead. But also they linger a bit too much, especially in that second pattern there, or that last pattern. Not so much this one. This one's really tough because of the way that they come in on you. So I decided that design-wise, I don't think that this is a good idea. But what I do think is that we could have the boss. The boss can shoot bullets that kind of act like this. So if we just use the boss bullets, like maybe a little, like a mid-sized spirit shows up and shoots the bullet pattern at you, then you have an idea of what to expect ahead of time. And then they can also dissipate before they go off screen. So the fact that like they linger so long, especially in that one trouble pattern I mentioned, like that one's really is annoying. Not that one. Where is it? This one. The fact that they linger so much off the bottom of the screen. I don't like that. So if we use the bullets instead, and they just disappear after a short period of time, or they're going fast enough that they just leave the screen properly, I think that would work better. I think it would work well as a boss fight attack. Yeah, and as I said, we've got those bullet patterns from the boss that do similar things to this. But yeah, I would like to see something like that. I think that would be neat as like a normal enemy. It just has to be handled very carefully. I would also like to see an enemy that hangs around on the top of the screen, and as you move left and right, it will follow you. But then it'll shoot like a beam, or it'll shoot bullets down. And so you've got to think about like baiting it into a situation where it shoots, where you don't have to be, and do things like that. I think I'd also like to see an enemy that works kind of like this circle pattern, but it only goes from point A to point B. So if you did, I'll just have to draw it here. Sure, this works. Right. There we go. So if you have the level here, right, and Ecto's flying up. What I would like to see is a pattern that looks like this, where the enemies will spawn here to here, and they'll move down like this. So you have to line yourself up over here and find the opening the right time to move to the right. Now it'd have to be spaced out a bit better than this, but I think that would be a good way to do it. But I want to use a different color of spirit, I think, to do that. Or have a different behavior. I mean, you could put a circle here that would rotate in that pattern, but then you come into the problem of when you have to leave, you have to go back through, or you have to go back up. And that can be kind of an issue. So I want to make a special enemy that just spawns at one point and disappears later. I think that would be cool. And then it's just a line of them, like a train of them. That may not translate well if the character instantly teleports to the spot unless you have a trail indicating you moved instantly. Yeah, okay, so the way that works, and I'll turn off this one. When you move, this is what it looks like. You can kind of see that you move from left to right. And you are not invincible during this teleport. So if I turn on gizmos here, and I pause it, shoot, how do I make this work? Oh, you know what I did? Hold on. I had to make a script to pause the game. Because you can't pause it, you have to come up here and click it with the mouse. But I can't click this and then click this fast enough to show it. So what I did was... Yeah, pause on move. Okay, so here, let me get them in position. And then I'm going to turn on pause on move. And then I go boom. So here's what happens when you try to move with a teleport. It creates a hitbox trail between where you were and where you ended up. And each frame covers that distance. So you can't teleport through things. It just won't let you do that. You'll get hit by whatever it is in the middle. We turn off invincibility, and I'll demonstrate. So, yeah, here. Oh, no, I dodged too quick. You know what, actually, let me put it back on the normal speed, because that was a little fast to be trying to demonstrate something like that. So here, let's get the slowed down version. There we go. So here, boom. If I hit that, see how he got hit, or she rather. My mistake. Um, Ecto was a she. So, she got hit because her hitbox extended through there, and same thing with this. She got hit. So you can't warp it or anything. In the old version of the game, we just updated the game 20 times per frame to make sure that you could collide with whatever when you move at super speed. But that's kind of inefficient. I mean, it worked in the old engine because the old engine was so customized and optimized that like it didn't matter. The thing could run at like 3,000 FPS on the computer, so it wasn't a big deal. Even old phones could run it really well. But for Unity, it's a bit more... Unity's got a lot of extra systems that just run as is to support all the features, whether you use them or not. So it's a bigger load, and I had to find a more performant way to do that. And this worked out fine. Yeah, this was fine. There was no reason to... There was no reason that we couldn't have done that in the first place. And I had, at the time of development, thought about that, but it was just easier to just increase the amount of game updates to make that happen. But we did it the big brain way this time, because we need as much performance as we can out of Unity, and that's why I want to change the levels so that the levels don't move, but Ecto moves through the levels. Because moving the level chunks costs more CPU time than just Ecto moving up through the chunks. So they need to make that change. And that's pretty much where we got at this point. It's kind of the whole gist of it. I want to change how the menu system works, and I got some big upgrades that I want to do that are not necessarily specifically for Ecto-Rush, but that I would like to make as just a general thing, and I'll get in. That's my next segment that I'm going to get into here. We have, from the other project, I have imported my Wiz system library here. For the recap, Wiz system is a collection of scripts. And what do you want, Cat? What are you dreaming for? The little baby's walking around. Hold on. Are you gonna make noises? Or are you gonna be silent? Did I hear a noise? Oh. Meow. Oh. Yeah, you had not been in this part of the house yet. Is it scary? Oh, meow, meow, I know. It's scary. Kitty break. Meow, meow, meow. What do you... Hey, what's that? Here, that's a desk. I'll have to teach you not to get on the desk later now that I've let you up on the desk. But yeah, there you go. Yeah, now you just wanted to explore it. What from you and for? Yeah, they're 3 weeks, 4 weeks old now? I don't know. Let's see, the chickens are 5 weeks, right? So they gotta be 4 weeks old. Because they were born a week after the chickens. What? Well, you're Chunk. You're the big boy. You're Chunk. What? Mew, mew. I know. Everything's all new and no, don't get on the keyboard. What? Are you calling on my... It grabbed onto my shirt and I wouldn't want to let go. Oh. I know. Okay, you can go down. Yeah. Mew. Hold on. They meow so quiet. I wonder if you guys even heard it. Either way, so the Wiz system. What is Wiz system? So if you code in C#, you probably understand what system is. It's a system-wide tool that you can use, and it has helpful basic features for C#. The Wiz system is the Mark D Wiz special library of code. So it's something I've been putting together when I've been building the rollback engine, Pocket Fighter EX. What you see here, it has all sorts of stuff here. It's got extensions for math, other math stuff, and a lot of this is, in development, so we're going to be adding a lot more stuff. Here's fixed point math libraries to use with Unity. Here's my random script for creating RNG and creating. These are rollback compatible RNGs. They're not just the standard. They're really good ones. I use a noise map to create the RNG here, and so this is the idea. I can take this and I can just throw this wherever I want. I can use it anywhere in any project that I have, and I've linked them up so that when I update this in one project, all those changes will happen in the other project if I want to update the other ones too. And so I've got an entire Unity section. It's got a whole audio system. It's got the Do Not Destroy and Load accessor. That is when you have, I don't know if I have any here. Yeah, here. When you mark something as Do Not Destroy on Load, then you get an additional scene here that's created automatically. Oh yeah, and here's the Do Not Destroy and Load accessor. But in order to access this scene, to see what's in here, you have to create an object in this space. And then really, honestly, all I did is I just created kind of an empty object, and then you can just kind of, access it from here. That's why it's called the accessor. So if you get this, you can check. I don't want to say it. Once you have this object and you reference it, you can check its transform properties and all that, and you can check the root objects and do all sorts of stuff with it. It gives you sort of a window to get in there. So I have this script automatically run. So it spawns the object here, and it automatically runs at when the game starts, no matter what scene you're in. That's what this runtime initialization on load does. It runs this as soon as the game starts. And you can kind of specify the nuanced timing of it, but I say before the scene goes, so that this thing is always here if I ever need it. It's there immediately. And that just gives me a window into this. And that's more or less for my custom update loop stuff that I need to do that. But then we have Screenshot Anywhere. And that is, I press F11 to take a screenshot. Oh no, I'm sorry. F12 to take a screenshot. And F11 opens up your data folder from Unity, where you can also get to your logs here. But this is how I took the screenshots that I put up on GameJolt. They take them at whatever resolution you're currently on, so since it's small, you get that. So you can see how this helps. I can just load this stuff in from other projects that I've worked on, and all of a sudden, boom, I've got all these features, all these systems are completely and immediately updated and accessible for everything that I work on. And so I've been working on that over the last month to kind of consolidate all the rollback netcode features in one giant super library, plus all the other stuff that I've made. And that's where you see this fixed folder. This is all the deterministic components that help me with the rollback netcode and the determinism and all that stuff. So all of it's here. Here's my work in progress animator. Here's some utilities for using the fix 64. That's the type format that I'm using that worked in this fixmat.net. And this is a an open source library that you can do for C# for doing fixed point math operation. And there's my geometry and oh yeah, my model behavior fix. This automatically creates a transform fixed and sets it all up for the fixed point math system for a game object. The physics, the vectors, all that stuff. It's got all the scripts that are associated with it. And if I ever update something or fix a glitch or whatever here, all the other programs that use it will automatically get updated. Here was that Hertz time, the Hertz pattern stuff that I was doing. Oh, I guess I can remove this one from the repository. I don't really need these test patterns here, but they're helpful to test it out. And then I've got the input system is currently not active, and here's one of the big things that this was something I theorized before that you could do in Unity, and I was right, and it did work, and I'll show you that in a minute. I have this entire input system, but it is currently deactivated. You see that it does not show up going. We're not running. If it was active, you would see it down here. You see how like the physics fix manager and all that loaded, and the time cache and the time system. That's also other stuff in here. Time system. All that stuff. If this was active, you would see that down here too. It would initialize and load, get all started up, automatically through those runtime initialization methods. But I found a way to pick and choose what I want. Now, I haven't gone through the entire library and added these, but I have added them for a couple things here. So, and actually I won't use the audio system because the input system's got a couple things that are causing errors, and I've got to sort those out, but the audio system should be safe to activate. I believe it actually is right now. Let's see. So let's open up a file here. Sound effect asset, sure. Here's what I did. If it's a Unity script, I added a precompiler statement here that it has to be Unity 2017.1 or newer, and it has to have used with system Unity audio. Now here's the problem. In C++, this is easy to do, but in C# you don't get the luxury of doing this. In C++, you could just do this, and then that would activate this, and all the other scripts would also see this define this precompiler. They call them macros in C++. I don't know what they're called here, but they're precompiler defines whatever. You get the idea. You could just in C++, if you define this like this, all the other scripts would be able to see it. In C#, you cannot. Oh, whatever. Okay, hold on. Let me close those. I need to open another one. So sound effect source controller. See, all this stuff is deactivated because it does not see this. So you're like, oh, well, okay, so wait, how did you make that work then? Here's the thing, Unity will give you a place to put these things. So in a C# project, if I go to assets, I think, I go to, that's just a folder. Oh wait, down here. So here, assembly C#, this CS proj. Look what's here. Defined constants, and look what is added into this. We'll take a quick look at this. Well, by golly, here's all of the precompiler stuff. the different versions of Unity. And even Unity has its own ways of doing this. Enable microphone, enable event queue, and all this stuff. It already has all this line of text here. And here is where it's 2017_1. Here's the one we use. Unity 2017.1 or newer. That's where I got this from. So here's the deal. You can add to this list. This is all the ones that Unity gives you. You can add to this list if you want in the editor. And you can do it per platform. So if I want the input system to work on Windows only and not on Android, I can do that. So here, use the Wiz System Audio. We'll go here, build settings, player settings, and here under player, we've got our Windows PC standalone. Oh, I guess I already had it up here. Let's pretend that it wasn't there. You can go in here and you can say, I'm going to add my own. There you go. Hit apply. Boom. You got it. I can turn these on and off and add the ones that I want, the systems that I want to be active, and the systems I don't want to be active won't be there. And notice how it recompiled in the background when I hit apply. And now all that code is going to be accessible. Then all of a sudden, this stuff is compiling because they all have this thing on. Now I need to go back and add this to all the nuanced stuff here. So the idea is you only want to use what you're going to use, and you don't want other stuff loading, taking up memory, and taking up processor cycles if you're not going to use it. If I don't need the update on demand, I just don't want it to be active. So I'm going to put a similar blockage here. So it'll be used with system, probably update on demand, and then I don't have to go and use that. I can just turn it off. If I want to use it, I go to the platform again, here, and I add it if I want to use it. And if I don't want it, then I just don't put it in here. So let's see, you got I guess you have to make a new line for each one. So just for the sake of argument, is it the only one that I added to? That might have been. Or did I add it to the save state? No, I did not. That's actually activated. That's a big heavy system. And that's like the thing, like I don't want the save state system working if I'm not going to use it, right? Something like Rand, I probably would just leave it open. I think it would be fine to just leave this as automatic. Because this doesn't have any subsystem that runs automatically. This would just be a random number generator and only runs if I create an asset for it. And same thing for monobehavior cache. That actually caches, I don't know if I went through this one before. This is a replacement for monobehavior as a base class, and it caches like the game object reference, the transform reference, the transform parent reference. Because every time you do like a GameObject.transform, where you access transform from Unity, it costs extra processing power to do that. To get the reference and then do something with it, it costs extra processing power. So if you cache these references, it can actually increase the efficiency of your scripts kind of substantially. Like it's not going to magically like give you a 50% boost, but it's a lot more than you would have expected it to be. Because Unity runs kind of in its own bubble, and every time you test Unity for like a transform or a component or something, it's got to negotiate between Unity's bubble and your script's space, and that apparently takes extra time. It's weird, it's a pain, but it is true, and I have seen uh, more of a performance increase than I would have imagined for doing this. Yeah, like patching the transform child count and all that stuff, like, so I don't have to go through and check that. Like, it's such a big help to do that kind of stuff. It's a little complicated to set this up. You definitely gotta, every time you use it, you've gotta get your, well, I won't say that you have to, but the solution that I came up with, whenever you call reset or onValidate, it needs to try to refresh these references. And that only happens at editor time. But once you run the game, all this stuff has already been serialized. All these references have already been cached and baked into the object. So you get zero overhead on this. Unless you change like a parent. If a parent changes, you have to check that in real time. But the initial overhead for having like the game object and the transform and all that, like this stuff, the game object transform will never change. You cache that at editor time, and that's free forever. As long as that object exists, these are always going to stay the same. So you just freed up every single reference to these. You freed up for the lifetime of that object, and that can add up. I make this my default. I don't use model behavior anymore unless there's some crazy reason that I have to do something a little wacky where I don't use model behavior or I don't use the cached stuff. It is very rare that I don't. Right now, I just load this up. It's automatic. You don't even see it in the editor. It just runs behind the scenes. It caches all that stuff, and it's good to go. And as long as I keep using it, you're going to see that, that performance boost is going to happen for every object. So that's big. I never knew that until I watched that GDC about, what game was it? Was it Blind? Or whatever. It's with the Shadow Kid. Was it Inside? I think it was called Inside. It was that indie game with that shadowed out kid, and he's going through. Or Limbo? Was it? Yeah, maybe it was either Inside or Limbo. I think it was Limbo. Yeah, it was one of those. Those games are so similar, I get them confused. But it was one of those, and they were talking about how they did the efficiency changes in Unity, and they're like, yeah, cache all your Unity references, because every time you check for a Unity reference, you get dinged an extra hit on your processing. And they went through a whole bunch of stuff. Now, not all of it, because they did this back in like 2015 or 2016. So some of the info in there may be outdated, but it's a great watch. Let me see if I can find it. YouTube.com GDC Limbo. Let's see. I think 60 FPS was in the title. Yeah, here it is. 2016. Oh my god. We're going back in time, boys. Oh my god, I'm waiting for the ads to get over. 3, 2, 1. Alright, here we go. So yeah, tools, tricks, and technologies for reaching stutter-free 60 FPS and inside. And, they go through everything. This is a whole hour. They go through some rendering stuff too, but there's a lot of good info here. It was Inside and not Limbo. I knew it was Inside. Jesus. Well, I guess that's why Limbo didn't show up when I searched for it. At least not the video I was looking for. Yeah, it was Inside. I said, I'm telling you, I get those two mixed up all the time. But he goes everything that they did and how they made huge changes in efficiency, and it was great. It goes through how the entire thing was laid out, how they load their level chunks. Because I don't think there were any loading zones in that game. It was just, you just kept going. And what it would do is, it would figure out where you were, and it kind of preloads the chunk in front of you and the chunk behind you, and then it unloads and loads things in real time. It just had one giant game wall. So it's kind of sort of the Breath of the Wild concept, where, you know, when you get close enough to something, it'll load it. You know, those kind of open world games, they kind of did that to a degree. Although I think this is more of a limited scope. It's quite as automated as that was. But they go through so much stuff about going through about using the profiler and figuring out stuff. Some of the weird stuff that they've implemented. So, like, I think on one platform they use mono, and the other they use IL2 CPP for their scripting. The TLDR on that is that the IL2 CPP, it like, I don't know, if it compiles your mono script to C++. Now that can have some ramifications that are bad, but for the most part, on a lot of platforms, it seems to speed things up. I've experimented with it, and I get minimal performance increases with it from my things, from my experiments, and sometimes it actually made it worse. So you have to check, you know, per platform, what's going to be good and what's not going to be good. But you should read articles about that before you get it. I don't have the time to get through all the stuff for that right now. Yeah, he uses this Street Fighter analogy here. Yeah, so see, he showed his test, his efficiency test before and after. It's funny they use the Street Fighter analogy, and they do full animation, see how much it cut off, and then they go through and they, you know, show you what they started with and the time that they ended up with in the end. Yeah, here he said use cache transforms. That's what I was talking about. Cache that stuff. Yeah, no for each. Yeah, don't use the for each loop. That one's slower than just doing a normal for loop. Erase that list. Like, he goes through it on all the common ones that he's heard of, and he'll actually tell you the real results. So, like, this one ended up, he's like, this is negligible. You might not actually have to do this. But he'll be real with you. He'll tell you what they tried and whether it worked or not, and what the performance implication was. So, I think his conclusion on erase the list was just, it doesn't matter. Just do more. But yeah, you should watch the whole thing. Yeah, see, I only chopped off a little bit. It wasn't really worth it. Yeah, but see, he started off his test with 100 milliseconds. He got down to 9 doing the same operation. But can you imagine? It's crazy. Yeah, 11 times. It was an 11 times efficiency boost. Yeah, this is really worth the read or the watch. So I'm gonna put this in the chat here. Bookmark it. Take a look at it. Super good. I've gone through and implemented a ton of these, and it has made a substantial difference. Especially for the rollback netcode library, it needs to be as slim as possible. Like, you can't have any fat when you're doing that. So arrays would be like a set of coordinates pointing to something, and a list would mean you would have to go through the whole list. No. An array is a collection of things. I know that sounds very broad, but it can be anything. You can have an array of numbers. So an array of numbers, say I have an array of 10, and they're all numbers. So I have 10 numbers. And they're just kind of like in a row, just number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, all the way to 10. And you can access them like that. I don't know if I have a... you know what? Let me pull up the Let me pull up the script here for the chunks. because this has a list essentially, but the list and arrays kind of work the same. But I'll tell you what the difference is here in a second. When I say that there's a list here, I can add to that list, and in the editor I have been adding. You can just plus and add a new entry, right? You can do that with arrays too. You can keep adding. But when you go through them, you give it a number, and you say here. Wait, no. Here. Here's my chunk prefabs. That's my list, and I give it this variable I. In the for loop, the I starts at 0, and every time it goes through the loop, it adds 1. So it starts at 0, then it goes to 1, then it goes to 2, and whatever, until you're done with however many are in this list. So if I wanted to hard code it, I would just say level chunk 0, and that's this one, element 0 on top. If I do level chunk 1, then it's element 1 here. And it'll pull this object from the list, and so on and so forth. And you can go through them with a for loop, so you can go through all of them and do whatever you need through the whole thing. That's the basic idea of an array, is it's just a series of the same thing, the same type of thing. This is an array of level chunks, and so I can put as many level chunks in here as I want. The difference between an array and a list at its fundamental level is once you create an array, the size can't change. And with a list, you can add and remove items from the list, and it will automatically resize that list to fit. That's the big difference. So if you don't need to change the data, once it's been generated, you can use an array. And there's a slight performance boost with it. But I, like the guy in the video, I haven't noticed any meaningful change whenever I interchanged any of them. I'll usually still use an array if I can get away with it, just because I know that it's cleaner in my mind, but I've never noticed a humanly perceptible difference in using them. So you could use lists for everything and it's fine. Now Unity's UI or GUI or whatever allows you to like reorder these things and stuff. Whether it's an array or it's a list, you get the ability to reorder things now. They've made it quite seamless in that regard, so you really don't even have a functionality difference here. But yeah, so like here where I said I want to add to the controllers list, so when I generate the chunk and then I add it to the list of bubble chunk controllers. This is also a list, and I add and then I just add it. And you can do remove too. So if you have a reference to the object, you say remove, and it will remove that specific one from the list if it exists. Or you could say .contains, and then you could add in, the reference here, and it will tell you yes or no. Does it contain the reference that you sent it? So there's a lot of neat little things you can do with lists. Arrays don't have quite that functionality, and you can keep adding, and your list will grow bigger and bigger. Now, there are some things to watch out for that are highly detailed things. Like it starts off with so many slots, and if you have to expand the slot, you have to get a performance hit for that in a list. But that's really getting into the weeds. You'd be better off reading about that than me going through it here right now. Yeah, you have to be pretty confident you don't add anything to the array, because when you make an array, you have to tell it how many slots there's going to be right at the start, and you can't change it after the fact. Not easily, put it that way. You could, to resize an array, you could make a new array and transfer the old items to the new array, and then to gain your extra spot. But you take a big performance hit from creating a new array and transferring one to another. I think behind the scenes, that's kind of sort of what the list is doing, but it does it in a way that's a little different, a little more performant. But if you have to resize an array, you have to create a new one and then transfer them all and then add, with having pre-made the additional slots that you need. Could you swap things in and out in an array without changing the size? Technically, you'd have to copy it out of the array, erase what's in that slot, and then put your new data in it. It's kind of a pain. I would just use a list for that kind of thing. So in a list, you could remove what you want and then add in a new one. And you can also reorder this. You can easily reorder and say, hey, I want this one to be the 5th object in the list. Where in the array, you'd have to pull one out, copy it to a copy manually, and then exchange the data, and then put the other one in the old one. It's kind of a pain. So I would just use a list. If you're going to change the data at all, just use a list. If you're never going to change the data at all, then use the array. But to be completely honest, you could probably use lists for everything and get away with it. I guess a theoretical thing to do with that, like a calendar, because there's never going to be more than 31 days in a month and 12 months in a year. Yeah, that's the mentality. If you ever have to change that data, you do not want to use an array. You want to use a list. But if that data is never going to change, then don't worry about it. So here's an example. Let me think. Is this a good example? I didn't do it here, but I could have made this an array. Because I know how many level chunks are coming in, and I know that level chunk list is never going to be a different size. So when I preload my chunks and get them pulled up, I already know how many is going to happen. See, I already know the count here. This count doesn't change once I've done it. I could make this an array. In fact, you know what? We'll do that right now, just to show it. I'll show you what it looks like. I'll change this to an array. And I'll show you how you would use that. So here's the new array. In fact, I'm going to leave this null right now. So this count, again, never changes. So when I get this count, I would just say level chunk controllers equals new array. Oh, I copy text here. And I would pass in count. And that will make one, however many there are here, it will make an array of that same size. And what I would do is I would go here and I would say, for that specific slot that it's currently working with, just assign it this controller. And that's it. I mean, this never changes. You never remove it. So that would be how you would do that. But every time you do this new array, you get a huge performance hit. So you do it once and you do never want to reassign this. Especially in C#, what happens when you redo an array, you activate garbage collection, and there's a huge performance hit as it's remaking the thing, and it's bad news. You never want to do that. But if this only happens once, which it does, you only preload once they're all created, they're there, and that's it, and you don't need to worry about it. Now, hopefully that doesn't cause a file error anywhere else, and I'll show you that it just works fine. So there you go. We got an imperceptible performance boost. There you go, and it's working fine. It's doing its thing because these never change. These will always be here. Oh, I didn't make myself invincible. There we go. That's how you use an array. So I mean, I wasn't too picky about it because again, now that I know that the performance implication is negligible, I'm not too crazy about it. And you could argue that that this can be an array as well. This really doesn't have to be a list. If I wanted to add chunks in real time during testing, through script, you could use the list. It would make it easy. But even if you don't do that, I mean, you could just make this an array, and Unity would still be able to edit the array in real time and give you a new one. So, I mean, that wouldn't be too big of a deal. How does inheritance work with lists here? How does inheritance work with lists? Not sure I understand the question. Can you give me an example or elaborate on that? Are you talking about like making a class and inheriting the list into the class? Because you can do that. Make like your own custom list types. Okay, like, can you call a line item from the list in another class in this situation? Yeah. So if I want to make my own list, public class, my list, and I inherit from list, probably want to use list t, because you want to use a template here. Or I'm sorry, you would do my list t, and then you would inherit from list here, and you can pass through. Wait, does that also have to have? Okay, that also has to have. I'm sorry. And then when you made one, like if I made one here, I would do like public my list and say it's a list of images. And that's my list. It's not big enough. My list. You would do it like that. Oh. Is it happy now? Okay, it's happy now. And then you could use this as a list. Yeah. And you could do something like, if you needed to do something special when you add it, you could override the add. So public override void add t, and you could say, you know what? Let me do this specifically. Let me make it infinite and not public. Let's do it this way. So this is going to be an int, and I would say in my list. Can't override here, and it's not. Oh, really? Oh, you would. Okay, in that case, you would do to override it, even if it's not perfect. And then you would say, if item, or let's say new int. If new int is say less than 0. We don't want that. We want new int to always be at least 0. And then you would say, then you would add new int to your thing. And I think that calls, oh, you gotta do base the add. And this way you can, get the data that you want in here. So you don't want anything less than 0. So you can code that in here before you fix it. And then it would work just like a list. Out here doing the Lord's work. Well, I appreciate that you find it useful. I don't know. Let's see. Could you, because it inherited from list, you might be able to just access it directly. So you would say my list, like 0. Let's say it's equals 0. Yeah, it would let you do that. So you can just access it like this. And you can make your own custom accessors. trying to remember how you do that. I've done it before, but it's been a long time. Because if you want this rule here, right now, I could just go in here, and I could say my list equals -1, and you can't stop that, right? I said whenever I want to add it, I want to make sure they're at least 0 or higher. Well, you could access it and just do this, but there is a way to do that on the accessor. I'm trying to think now. Let me look it up real quick. And you can do this for things that aren't lists either, but it's really helpful. So let's see. C#, element accessor. Using indexers. Yeah, I think that's what we're looking for. Yeah, here we go. Here we go. This, and then the type. And this will, does this get him set? You do them separate? I guess with the, what? Oh, here. Okay, they work like properties. You get to get them set. So let's copy this over. And you can say here, public int this, and then int, and this. And you can say base. Hit base one. That's from list. And you can send that back, but if you set it, we want to do something different, right? We want to make sure that our value is the way that we want it. And so we can do the same thing. So if value is less than 0, value equals 0, then we insert, or then we change the index on value from the base. And again, base is the actual list that we're working with here. And so you can control the data. What's it say? Height and character numbers. Oh, okay. They want you to use new here. That's fine. I don't think it would have actually changed it much now, but it's nice to know that when you see new, you know that it's hiding the base class version of this, which is this. And this will work the same way. Okay, what are you calling for? Where are you? Kittens is going nuts. Probably went in a room that it was unfamiliar with and it got scared. They're only like 4 weeks old, so they're skittish now. But yeah, that's how you would do something like that, and then you can absolutely control the data coming in. It's a very powerful thing to do, and I've done it on a couple of occasions. So it's definitely worth looking into. Control what's in the list. And if you mark this as serializable, so system that's serializable, you can see this in Unity too. So if I go here, what was this? This was a stage chunk collection. If we go here. Oh, you know what? Hold on. I think I have to make that a serializable reference. So when you do that, I think you have to do serialized reference. Maybe I'm wrong. Let's experiment. There is a way to make this show up in Unity. Pretty sure. No. I'm positive there's a way to make this work, but I'm not sure what it is. Might have to look it up. But to get that to work. And it is marked serialized. It doesn't seem to be able to see the base class in it. I'm sure there's a way to make that work. I just don't know. But yeah. yeah, there's all sorts of stuff. It's very powerful way to do characters. I'm trying to make a list that I can assign it a priority value. So when I add something to the list, you give it a priority value, and then it'll sort the list based on the priority. I haven't had too much luck with it, but I haven't worked on it so much yet. That's what I've been using it for in the past. Because I want to get... For my other project, I want palette effects on the colors. And I want them to have a priority associated. So when I stack in like 20 different palette effects, it'll know which one to do first. And I wanted to build a list to do that. And I started to build one, and it looked kind of like C# already had the ability to do that, but it didn't work the way that I thought it did. So I have to go back to the drawing board to do that. But yeah, I was doing basically this the whole time. But so hopefully that makes sense. That's helpful. Get that code out of there. Wait, did I? Oh, I was gonna say, I saw it. It's gonna bounce. Back to normal? Yeah, back to normal. Oh. I wonder if that should have been destructive instead of a class. Wait, can you do it here? Construct. Yeah, it doesn't. I guess you can't do a construct. You have to use class. Block list. It's my list, but that. Yeah, so you must have to use a class to do that. Yeah, now it's happening. Structure weird. You can't do a lot with them. I think you can give interfaces to the structure, but not give the character. Like, but either way, yeah. So hopefully that helps. A lot of crazy stuff you can do with this. For what it is, it's pretty powerful. Anyway. Oh, how are we doing on time? Oh, we're almost out of time. That's what I thought. Oh, because it's been a while. Are there any last minute questions? Stuff you want answered? Get them in now. Think of what other things there are here. This was really the big one. Being able to cap off different systems with this. I've been looking at this for a while. This is really good. I'm gonna have to be careful because sometimes you have asset files, right? And if I make the asset file disappear, the script for the asset file disappear, I wonder if it would deserialize the data there. So I've got some experimentation because there are some systems that have automatic like prefab associated. Now those are test objects. Oh, the time system has. Yeah, the time system has a prefab here, right? And it has some data here. So, I'm wondering if this script gets turned off, will it corrupt this data? And cause issues? I don't know. I'll have to experiment with that. And I'll have to be very careful about what I enable and disable. But update on. Here's a time system manager. This one doesn't have any serialized data, so that's fine. That's alright. Update on command gate. Oh, this is for the rollback, I think. Yeah, this is for the rollback system. Because the time has to update for every rollback resimulation. And that's what this is here for. This is my custom update loop. But yeah, it does have, data here. So if I were to say this doesn't exist anymore, this script doesn't exist, like it doesn't compile, what would happen? I wonder what would happen to it. Would this data just go away? I'll have to figure that out. That's definitely something to think about. Because I do have some objects in this library that are precompiled. Now, I mean, I could make a script to, like, re-enable all this stuff later. Like, to reconfigure the object, but that would be a pain if I had to do that. So, I don't know. I'll have to figure that out. Because I don't think... No, right? You might already have an example of this. Where is the... Don't I already have a manager? No? I thought I had it. Maybe this one doesn't have it. Yeah, I'll have to experiment with it. See how that works. And I can report back what happened. Yeah, like here with all this stuff. Sound effect controller. Yeah, these ones don't really have any configuration though. These two scripts would have been turned off if I remove this. Say I remove it. Apply. Let it recompile. Then it should complain about these scripts just not existing. Oh, it's still recompiled. Hold on. Give it a second. Yeah, see? There's a problem because there's a missing thing. Wonder what would happen if it had a serialized field in there. Because if the files here are shared with other projects, you don't want it to like kill a prefab that you're using in another project. You want that to retain. So I don't know. Don't know how that's going to behave, but that's definitely something I'll have to figure out. But you can definitely use these precompilers for all sorts of things. I absolutely intend to use them for, like, I don't want the audio system active, so we're not going to have that. Now, something like the audio system, I probably wouldn't just want that to be active anyway. I don't have an alternate thing. But like the input system, maybe I don't need it. For this game, it's all clicky with the mouse. I don't need the input, my custom input system for that. That's for controllers. I don't need it. Why would I need it? Because I'm controlling it manually. The mouse. In fact, this game probably wouldn't even work right with a controller. I can't imagine this being playable with a controller. Because you can't, like, zip around like this with a controller. Like, how do you know where you end up? You know? I don't think it would work. This is very much a touchscreen kind of game. But it was designed that way, so it's fine. But yeah, I'll have to figure out what will happen in those cases and figure out what I can get away with in terms of that. And maybe I'll have to just make a configuration script that will create these default objects and find them. If they need to be there, then they will be there. But I'll figure it out. It's fine. Yeah, okay. I mean, then I guess that's pretty much it. I already hit my time up. No more questions, so I guess we'll close it out. Okay, so we will be back on Sunday, and in the Discord, get the link. There's the Discord link. In the Discord, I'm going to hold a poll whether or not you want to see me continue to struggle in Dark Souls for a third week, or if we're going to play something else. And I'll have that poll in a couple days or so, and we'll figure out. Probably Saturday, actually. We'll have the poll on Saturday. How about that? And then we'll figure out what game we're going to play on Sunday. That's my gameplay. Oh, hold on. And here's schedule. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong screen. So we'll do our scrubby gameplay on Sunday, and we'll figure out what to play. Monday, Pocket Fighter EX. We're gonna do. Just gonna continue in on that, and I got a lot of rollback netcode stuff to get through for the week. Just kind of keep driving in on that until we get that netcode working. I'm excited for that. That's going to be really cool. And then Thursday, I know it says Ecto-Rush here, but we're going to be doing Retro Mansion stuff, most likely. We'll be switching. So Thursdays is going to switch. I forgot to change the schedule. We'll be back on the other project. Now, of course, Ecto-Rush is not getting shelved forever. Like I said, Ecto-Rush will be back probably September, somewhere around there. And then we'll bring it back and try to finish it up for an October release. I think that'll be fun. And that's pretty much it. So, thanks everybody for hanging out. I've got a Patreon if you want to support my personal efforts in game development and the streaming and all the stuff that I do here on YouTube and Twitch and wherever else. I guess it's on Facebook and Twitter. Not many people show up on the Twitter or the Facebook, but that's alright. For viewing the stream. But oh no, where'd my list go? Did my list get moved? I had the list of patron names. What happened? Oh no, here? Was it? Oh, okay. Oh, it's right here. I was reorganizing the desk, so I misplaced it. But here are the generous people that like you can get preview builds and stuff that I work on here. So if I ever make the change to Ecto-Rush and I don't do a public release, I'll put it up on the Patreon or any of the stuff that I work on. So that's the kind of stuff that I have on there, and more like nuanced and personal updates and things like that. So here are my generous patrons for. Wait, this is wrong. This is the wrong date. Is it? This is the wrong list. This is the wrong list. What happened? Where's my right list? Oh, this is killing me. All right, here we go. Got the list. Yeah, Alex Smith, Mugen, Cameron Weil, Barry X, Wake and Dumper, Angel, Rory Luis, Mike Cruz, Sharon Williams, Bryson Agoyun, AJ, Alex Dean, Grave Spirit, Mike Keo, Miles Griffin, Ben K, D-Money 107, Neldy Walker. Thank you guys very much. That's going to change. Let's see. How many days left we got? Run! Open calendar. Yeah, we got Sunday, Monday. Yeah, okay, so by next Thursday we're gonna have a new list of patrons for all the June. And oh, I'm sorry, Will Run. Yeah, we're closing down now. We don't go too much past 10:30 here. So we'll have a new list of patrons then, because that's when the new month hits. If that sounds interesting, check it out. I'd very much appreciate it. I'll dedicate more time to this stuff, and that's pretty much it. So I'm gonna go to sleep. Once the coffee in my system gets yeah, I got the VODs. Yeah, I got the VODs here on Twitch. They only last for a couple weeks because Twitch deletes them after a while. But the YouTube, go to the YouTube, Game Dub Scrubs on YouTube. The VODs are there forever. Now there's, I keep the most recent ones like visible, but you'll want to go to the playlist that's live stream VODs, and that's where the whole catalog of all of them are there. That's the one you want to check out. Since I've been doing the multi-streaming. So everything's there. That'll be there forever, unless YouTube takes me down for whatever reason. You know, that's, yeah. Yeah, you're already on YouTube? Yeah, okay. So just look for the playlist that says live stream VODs, and it should be there, and all of them are there. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'm gonna, once the coffee gets out of my system, maybe I can get to sleep. And we'll hopefully have a good, productive Friday, right? So everybody have a good one. Hope everything goes good. Have a nice rest of the week. I'll see you on Sunday, Monday, and next Thursday. That's it. So have a good one and scrub out.